Hi there, welcome to the second in our series of Be Well interviews. As part of our Be Well teaching series, which is looking at everything to do with well-being and mental health and emotional health, I'm interviewing a number of people, a number of members of the congregation of Holyrood who work in the areas of well-being and mental and emotional health. And I'm really delighted that today I'm speaking to Denise Charlton. Hi Denise.
Hi.
Hi. Now Denise, up until about 5 years ago you were a nurse, but you began a process of making a real significant career change at that point. We'd be delighted if you tell us about it.
Yes, well, it was a little bit before that. I felt called into trying something different out. I went on to introduction to counselling course in 2007, and then someone enabled me by her generous financial giving to start the process to train as a therapeutic counsellor, which was 5 years ago. At that point I was still nursing, so I was juggling the nursing and the counselling.
So for about the last 5 years you've been counselling as well as coming out of a nursing career. And I know that over those few years one of the things that you've been particularly involved in has been supporting people that have been through trauma.
Yes.
And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what is it particularly about recovering from a trauma that can be so difficult for people.
It's particularly difficult because when people have suffered a trauma, and if we're talking about a major trauma, that the memory of that trauma attached itself to a part of the brain that's to do with flight, fright and freeze, which is our emergency part of our brain.
Yeah.
And what happens is when they're triggered through memories of what happened to them, they either go into a freeze, which is withdrawing, they go into a flight, which is wanting to get away, and not just because they don't like their job, but because they want to get away from everything that reminds them of that trauma. Or they're very aggressive or irritated with people all the time. And sometimes they don't even know what's the cause of it, because trauma can be hidden from even from their consciousness. It could be something what's happened to them many years ago. They've just ignored it, carried on with life. It's when they hit something in their life that everything around them seems to come crashing down, and all of a sudden they're in a very bad place.
And I assume that working with people who've suffered from trauma, they can very easily feel stuck and feel hopeless. But even for somebody that suffered really terrible trauma, there is still hope. Is that right?
Oh yes, definitely. The first part is recognising that there's a problem to be solved, of course, like of anything, and seeking out the right help. That is paramount, really. With the right help, the therapist can help them to feel in a safe place to start working through that trauma, because the big thing about trauma is it feels very unsafe. And so by being in a safe place, and it's very gentle work, because part of trauma sometimes is trust. How can I trust this person I've come to? Because normally trauma is associated with someone who's let them down.
Okay.
It doesn't, but not totally, can be for other things too.
And I know that something we've talked about is knowing that seeking professional help can be absolutely essential for somebody who's been through that. But also we're really aware that churches have a lot to offer to people that are struggling with all areas of mental health. So what would you, this is the question I'm asking everybody, what would you say that churches can do to help people with general questions of well-being, whether or not it's to do with trauma or to do with something else?
The good news is that not all trauma is complex. So I want to put that out there. You know, we get traumatised if we witness something in the street or if we're part of RTA. And in the more simple traumas, people just listening to them is very important. With more simple traumas, if someone was willing to listen to you until you're blue in the face for within the first month, just a mere talking it through helps that person to process what they've witnessed and shift that trauma into just the memory part of the brain, which it doesn't then cause so much havoc.
Yes, okay.
And so that's a good thing. Not all traumas are complex.
Yeah.
And if you do come across someone who then does reveal something which is obviously it's still listening.
Yeah.
And it's, making them feel valued for what they've just shared.
Yeah. And
then gently suggesting to them that it might be an idea that you go further to get some professional help.
Yeah.
And it's them feeling valued as a person. Right. Because people who've had trauma don't really feel valued.
No. Thank you so much. Denise, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. Thank you for all that you do to support people trying to find recovery and trying to find hope. Thank you for listening to this. We are, as a parish, we are exploring questions of well-being, of mental, emotional health, and how we can respond. So I pray that God will bless you as you learn to be well in his love and grace.